Hi folks, welcome back. Thank you for watching. Please do hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It really does help when you do that. So today folks, I've got some new pickups to show you in this guitar here. This is my Les Paul Custom from 2003, I think, 2004 maybe. And these pickups are the OX4 Hot Duanes, kind of uncovered, slightly beefed up PAFs, chasing the Duane Allman at the Fillmore sound. Now, I've owned this guitar from new, so I've had it for 16, 17 years now, and I've never bonded with this guitar. I don't know what it is about it, but I've always just had guitars I've wanted to play long before playing this. And I've tried lots of different pickups and hardware and pots and wiring configurations and everything in this guitar over the years, trying to get to love it, but I've just never quite got there. Now, the most recent sound I was going after with this guitar was the kind of Black Beauty Fretless Wonder sound. So I had some really sort of low wind, vintage correct PAF pickups in here, but it was just lacking something. And for the longest time, I couldn't really put my finger on what that was. But eventually I decided I was going to change the pickups again. And I had some ideas of things I wanted to try a little bit differently. So the one thing I've learned about this lump of wood is it doesn't suit low wind, vintage correct PAF pickups. For whatever reason, I think one thing is it's incredibly heavy, this guitar. The old kind of burst Les Pauls and the R8s and the R9s are, I don't know, about 8 pounds in weight, give or take a pound either side of that, because they did vary a lot. This is 10 pounds and 9 ounces, so it is a real hulking chunk of mahogany. And the reason I think the sort of vintage PAFs always sounded so good in those Les Pauls was because the lightweight bodies were very resonant, and the microphonics of the unpotted pickup would kind of pick up some of that woodiness and make them sound really warm and earthy low down. And that was one of the things I was missing in this guitar here. So I had a few stipulations of what I wanted the new pickup to be. I wanted it to be slightly hotter in output than what I had before. So not too much. I wasn't going, 15k or something like that, but just, 8 or 9, just a little bit more. But also I wanted some more low end out of the bridge pickup because it just sounded a bit thin before. And the PAF I had in here before had an Alnico 2 magnet in it. And Alnico 5 magnets, in my experience, tend to sound a little bit more kind of thumpy low down in the low end and the low mids. So essentially what I was looking for was a set of overwound Alnico 5 PAFs, because I didn't want to go too far away from the PAF sound, because I love the PAF sound. They just weren't quite suiting this guitar in their very stock traditional form. But also I wanted them to have a nice dynamic range still, because hotter pickups tend to sound a little bit more compressed and have less dynamics in them. I love dynamics, but I wanted less than I had before, but not none. But also I love clarity in my sound. I love definition. And hotter pickups, again, typically will roll off more high-end than lower output pickups. So I didn't want to sacrifice high-end, but I wanted more lows and more output and just more beef overall. So I was looking around online, and generally speaking, I buy all of my guitars and amps and pickups and pedals second-hand, purely to save money, because it won't shock you to learn that doing a YouTube channel of this size isn't exactly a retirement fund, so I need to be incredibly careful with what I spend money on to feature on this channel. So I was looking around on eBay and Reverb, and a few things came up that looked vaguely interesting, but ultimately nothing really took my fancy. But then I thought, you know what, 2020 has been such a crap year for so many people, and I'm always going down the UK-made, hand-wound boutique pickup route. So why don't I just dig a bit deeper and really try and support one of my favourite local winders? Because, anyone trying to sell anything in 2020 has been struggling. So, I wanted to try and, support, people whose work I really admire. So that made, the search field a lot broader, because I had, all of a sudden lots of different winders and their websites, and I was looking through various specs. And I had a few options on the table, but eventually I settled on the Hot Duanes, because they seemed, on paper at least, to really fit the bill. Because they're slightly overwound, but not super hot. The PAFs I had in here before were 7.62 and 7.19. These Hot Duanes are 8.48 and 8.14. So they're just like about 12% over. So that is right where I wanted them. I didn't want them super high output, just that little bit more, up to 11 as it were. They're Alnico 5s, but also because they're uncovered as standard, when you put covers on humbuckers, you tend to darken the sound a little bit, which is fine, though pretty much all humbuckers are covered, but taking the covers off gives you a little bit more kind of zing in the top end. So they were Alnico 5s, they were hotter than standard, but being uncovered wasn't going to roll off as much high end. So they really seem to fit the bill. And I've got a couple of sets of marked pickups in my SG, the low wind Alnico 4 PAFs, which are just the perfect pickups for that guitar, and some of his P90s in my 330 that just brought that guitar to life. So I've really been a fan of Mark's work ever since I first plugged a set of his pickups in. So I figured, let's try the hot Duanes. So I've put them in, I've sort of set them up, I've dialed them in, I have made a video showing how I did that, that'll be out in a couple of weeks. So I fine-tuned the heights and the pole screw heights and everything to really suit this guitar. And I've really been enjoying it. I actively want to play this guitar now. And I think one of my favourite things is it's definitely hotter. You know, DC resistance isn't output as such, but it is an indication of how hot a pickup is. So it's definitely hotter than what I had in there before. The Alnico 5s definitely beef up the low end, so that's all there. The highs are all there because they're uncovered, but also they have a real kind of glassy compression to them in the top end. I can't really describe it because they've definitely got dynamic range. You hit it hard and it just hoofs the amp and just really crunches it up. Wonderful. But also, when you're playing clean, even when you're playing lightly, it just has this sort of sheen to it. And the split position sound, which is one of my favourites on the Les Paul, I'm a big fan of the sort of split position Jimmy Page thing, is one of my favourite clean sounds of any guitar I own now. I really wasn't expecting that. I said in the video I made about dialing these pickups in that I wanted this guitar to just bring the rock. I wasn't that fussed about clean sounds. But it's a real welcome surprise that it sounds astonishingly good clean. I really wasn't expecting how amazing this guitar was going to sound clean, but it does. But then you pile the gain on and it just sounds wonderful as well. So today I'm just going to plug straight into 2 amps and play them clean for a bit, and I'll throw a couple of gain pedals on as well, because beefed up humbuckers and the Les Paul, they really want to rock. So I'll put a couple of gain pedals on, but not too many pedals today, just keep it fairly simple, to show you how much I'm enjoying these pickups, because I think they sound absolutely brilliant. So without further ado, guys, let's go. So there we are, folks. Now, please do comment underneath, let me know what you thought of the Hot Duanes. I love chatting nerdy guitar stuff with you folks in the comment sections. But I want to play this guitar now, which I haven't for a long, long time. These pickups have achieved exactly what I was hoping it would. It still has a classic sound, but it hits the amp harder. It has a beefier low end with the Alnico 5s, but it still has that glassy high end. Sounds really, really nice with overdrive, like with the revival drive on there. Just hit the amp in such a beautiful way. But also the clean sounds are just so glassy and lovely. The split sound especially, like off camera I've been putting chorus effects and reverbs and things on there and just getting lost in the sound sitting in front of the amps here. It just has such a wonderful sound. It has beef, it has high end, a slight scoop in the mids, which is what I wanted in this guitar. And these pickups just suit a huge kind of tree trunk's worth of mahogany. They just sound so good in this guitar now, and I really want to play it, so I can't wait to kind of turn the camera off today and crank the amps up again, which I don't usually want to do after videos. I'm usually quite deaf, but today I'm just going to go and carry on playing. So as always, folks, it's completely subjective, so please do comment underneath, let me know what you thought of these pickups today, and please do carry on subscribing. I know I always say it, but it really does make a huge difference when you do that. So thank you ever so much, folks, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.